Today on CityCast Chicago, an anti-Muslim hate crime in the southwest suburbs, an inside look at Chicago's temporary casino, and we've got a new member of the CityCast Chicago team. Let's break it all down. It's Tuesday, October 17th. I'm Jacoby Cochran, and this is What Chicago's Talking About. I'm here with lead producer Simone Alisea. Morning, Simone.
Good morning, Jacoby. How are you?
I'm doing well. We got some heavy stories to kick off the program today. A southwest suburban man has been charged with a hate crime for stabbing a 6-year-old boy to death and seriously wounding his mother over the weekend. Police and relatives said they were targeted because they were Muslim and because of the ongoing war between Israel and Hamas. Simone, what do we know so far?
Yeah, so Joseph Chuba is a 71-year-old landlord in Plainfield in Will County, so that's southwest suburbs, and he's accused of killing 6-year-old Wadea Al-Fayoum and injuring his mother, Hanan Shahin, who were his tenants. He's been charged with murder, battery, and a hate crime. The DOJ, the Department of Justice, is also investigating for federal hate crime charges, and this was just a really, I think, tragic moment over the weekend. After we have sort of seen demonstrations and we have seen, and we'll talk about this a little bit, sort of really heated city council meetings where this war is sort of, playing out here at home. After this all kind of took place over the weekend and on Sunday, the Chicago office of the Council on American Islamic Relations held a press conference with relatives of the family. Wadea's father was there as well. And I think the boy's uncle talked about having family in Gaza whom they haven't been able to hear from. This is a family who migrated from the West Bank, trying to, leave the site of conflict and leave violence that was happening in the West Bank. And so I think, something that has really shaken certainly Will County, but also I think has reverberated throughout the Chicagoland area, this really just sort of awful crime.
Yeah, over the last week, most of what I watched take place in the news, whether it's media members and politicians sort of trying to play both sides, fumbling over their speeches, was expected. Seeing tens of thousands of people march across Chicago and New York and Los Angeles and cities across America was expected. And unfortunately, seeing a rise in whether it's Islamophobia or anti-Semitism leading to, violence, unfortunately was also expected. But for the victim to be this 6-year-old boy whose mother and father are not only completely at loss for words, this abhorrent act that they've had to experience, but it feels like it's multiplied in this moment because it's very much a tragedy that, as we've seen in the coverage, is entirely motivated simply by their identity.
Mm-hmm, exactly. And I think it's just it's so hard to talk about, I think, in so many ways. One, just because, anytime anyone is killed, but anytime a child is killed in particular, there is just this sense of just utter injustice, right? Whenever a child is killed. And then you add on top of that the fact that again, authorities are charging this as a hate crime. They believe that is the reason that this person acted the way they did, was targeting this family because they're Muslim. But it's, this family, they hadn't had a problem with their landlord leading up to this. It wasn't a case where, there had been racial epithets or religious, anti-Muslim epithets that had been thrown over the course of their time living here. It was really kind of motivated by this tense moment that the world is in right now. Chicago has one of the largest populations of Palestinian Americans in the country. It's estimated around 85,000 here. We also have a really large Jewish population. Many of that community have really strong ties to Israel. It's like I said, just really, really difficult, I think, to kind of talk about and wrap your head around as a Chicagoan of like, what am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to sort of orient myself toward this news and kind of what's happening. And yeah, I think really just condolences to the family.
Yeah, these moments, I feel very torn, but I kind of want to explain that. It's on one hand, I'm torn because it always sucks when the question becomes violence against who sparks outrage, right? You know, the violence that Israelis experienced last week, you know, had governors and mayors and even our city council coming out and saying, you know, we need to pass a resolution to stand with. But then you hear from someone like Gabriel Miller, who spoke in front of the city council last week and openly said, well, the city council was never met to speak on violence against Palestinians. And now after this killing, you see these same politicians, these same city council members coming out and saying, you know, we stand with our Muslim brothers and sisters. This act will not be tolerated. But I'm torn because there seems to be a cognitive dissonance between how the way we spoke last week and sort of, you know, made Hamas a stand-in for Palestine in that moment, and how that contributes to the rise of not only violence, but violent rhetoric. And then on the other hand, a part of me is proud of our city, is proud that, you know, when I think of how conflict was covered, even just 10 years ago, if you think about the 50-day conflict back in 2014, I don't think you had as many marches take place that say, hey, we can openly speak about how sad and angry we are to see lives lost, but let's always put that within context. I don't know if we saw that 10 years ago in the ways we see now with the marches, with city council members pushing back against sort of this blanket, you know, resolution for support and saying, let's complicate this issue and speak about, you know, this not as just a moment that took place on October 7th, but one that is situated inside of, you know, a 100-year history here.
I think just to kind of step back a little bit and explain a little bit of what you're referring to that happened in City Council late last week on Friday. Council members debated a resolution basically condemning the attacks by Hamas and sort of supporting Israel. And that meeting was extremely heated. At one point, Mayor Brandon Johnson called for members of the public to be cleared out of council chambers. And it was very heated by sort of on both sides, people speaking, as you said, in support of Palestine. And again, speaking to that issue of, well, why haven't you condemned violence against Palestinians that has been ongoing in addition to this attack by Hamas, you know? And then, of course, supporters of Israel really cheering on this resolution, you know, that the city council is coming up and taking a stand. You know, the sponsor of that resolution, Alderwoman Deborah Silverstein, has sort of said that, has tried to make the point that this resolution is specific, again, to condemning that attack by Hamas, you know, which targeted civilians in Israel. But critics say that it isn't nuanced enough. It doesn't do enough to acknowledge the violence that has already been perpetrated. It doesn't do enough to also acknowledge, you know, previous human rights issues that are happening in Gaza and the West Bank. I do agree that it is sort of interesting to see. I agree with you. I think there is a complicated conversation that's actually happening kind of in public in the city of Chicago, in our public institutions. It has never really kind of felt, I think, as complex as it does in this moment. Openly complex.
Exactly. But I appreciate the Chicago's organizing community, not simply for marching, for sharing books and resources and things you can read to be more tapped in, to be more informed, but for having the complicated conversation, especially while mourning is, you know, it's a part of the challenge of organizing. And so, but, you know, as always, I stand in gratitude.
So we've spent a lot of time here on CityCast Chicago covering the implications of Bally's Casino here in the city, what it's going to mean for traffic and how much money it's going to make for the city. But now that the temporary casino at Medina Temple in River North is actually open, I kind of wanted to know, like, is it actually a good time? Is it fun? Jacoby, you were there a couple weekends ago. How was it? What did you see? Give us the inside scoop. What was the casino like?
Yes, I Went there around maybe 10 o'clock last Saturday. And I mean, you could see the building from a ways away. The Bally's casino signs are prominent. They're everywhere. It is an interesting juxtaposition to see the Medina Temple, retrofitted as a casino. I don't think its original architects ever imagined that's what would take place inside of the building. But once you get there, the first thing I noticed was there was not a long wait to get into the casino. Those lines that we saw on the news when it was first opening up in September seemed to be long gone, right? It was not a very cold night out. But when you walked in, things pretty much move smoothly. You go in, and as you can expect, you're going to see a security guard. They're going to ask to see your ID, scan you in. But then when you come in, I don't know if you've ever been to like a casino and
I haven't actually. I've never been to a casino in Vegas. It's not really my thing. So this is entirely new to me. I am like a child learning for the first time.
So I have been to casinos in Louisiana, out in Vegas, even in Indiana. And some of the things you expect, as soon as you walk in, the lights are bright. The slot machines are blaring. The floor is ugly because they don't want you to look at the floor. They want you to look up at the games. But the actual layout of Medina Temple is different than anything I've ever seen because it feels much more narrow than at, a Vegas casino, an Atlantic City casino, just because of the way the building is, right? It's separated on multiple levels with games on multiple levels with your restaurants up on the third floor. It feels like a convention center that turned into a casino floor. And so the games feel a lot closer together.
I wonder if that gives it, like a more kind of urban, because you're right. You're in River North. You're in the middle of the city, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not like you're not out in Hammond, Indiana. You're not out in the northwest suburbs.
Right. It's not a building you're going to get lost into, right? It's not one that you're, Vegas casino, you are wondering where is the exit? I actually am lost somewhere in the middle, but it feels really easy to navigate. The signage was very clear. As soon as you walk in, you see waiters and waitresses moving throughout. You see people, standing up at the tables hoping to hit their lucky moment. But the energy left a lot to be desired, right? It was not it didn't feel like a go-to spot on a Saturday night when you first walk in.
It didn't feel like, because I think that's what people say about Vegas casinos in particular, right? It's designed to keep you there forever, and you just you're in this like adult fantasy world and you lose track of time and space. You didn't lose track of where you were. You knew where exactly that you were in the middle of Chicago right now.
Exactly. I knew I was in River North. I knew I was in the old Medina Temple. You could still, the facade of the building is still the same, right? The dome.
Thinking about what other bars you were going to hit afterwards after you kind of got through this.
Or how comfortable that bed was going to be.
Yeah.
But like different than a Vegas casino, there are no complimentary drinks, right? You still got to order. You still got to pay for everything that you're consuming in there. I would have liked a nice little watered down drink to make my stay a little bit easier. But I spun the room for a bit before I grabbed some money, before I sat down, just to sort of take the lay of the land. Feels like there's a bar on every floor. I didn't eat, but the restaurants up top and the menus that they had, I don't know. I guess I was a little bit shocked. I've never eaten at a casino. And that even continue here. But when I looked at the Medina Bistro, I mean, steak frites right at the very top of the menu, mushroom collard melt, a Baja fish taco plate, and the time that is running from like, I think 5 p.m. to 1 a.m. So the food is available all night, and I didn't get to taste it yet. So that just gives me a reason to go back. But the menu definitely got me.
All right, Jacoby, but we are avoiding 3 very important questions here. What games or game did you play? How much money did you lose, and how fast?
That's a very good question. So from the time I got to the ATM and sat down to play roulette, I lost $100 in 3 minutes on 5 hands of roulette. I won the first one, and then it was down hill from there. I don't know. There feels like there was an element of pageantry that was missing. There was no sense of like, come sit down, come play, try your hand. And so again, I don't know if that's an unfair expectation, but that maybe
but you
that's
wanted
not
that like Vegas casino movie moment,
exactly.
Right? Like,
I just expected there to be both a little bit more energy from the people who were working there, and also maybe more bodies. Because I also think there is an energy to, like, if you're playing roulette with multiple people, that sort of, there are more people, like, have something in the game. And it didn't feel like there were a lot of tables that had 3 or 4 or 5 folks there, to play. And so that energy was lost. It was just me and Tay sitting at a roulette table playing by ourselves, which, it's not that exciting when I'm losing money every hand.
So do you think you'll go back? Do you think you'll bring visitors? I mean, are you waiting for the permanent one? Like what's your final rating here, I guess?
I do imagine I will go back. I haven't tried the food. See if maybe I just caught it at a, kind of a low period, see what it's like on a different day at a different time. But I asked one of the people working the games, I was like, how long did y'all have to train? And one of the guys said 2 months. And then another individual told me that she had been trained, or she had previous training working at a different casino. And when she said that, that just reminded me that for as much as the temporary casino is supposed to be its own experience, something that people can enjoy, it's also a training ground in our city. It's getting people prepared for the idea of a casino running, 20 hours a day. And from that perspective, it allowed me to leave being, okay, right? Chicago has never done this before. And so I left maybe with a little bit more of a perspective. Like, okay, all right, I'm coming the first month of our first ever casino. I think it can only go up from here. Lost some money. What else to be expected? Rating, I'm going to be a little mean here, unfortunately. I'm going to have to give it around to like 7.
7 out of 10.
Maybe even lower than that. Yeah, maybe even a 6 out of 10.
I think that's quite kind, actually. That's better than half, right? Mm-hmm. That's still on the positive side of things.
Yeah, because it was clean. ATM fees are nuts. Hey, get your cash before you go. Them ATM fees is like $6. All of the slot machines have electronic chargers, so you can put your phone right on if your phone charges that way. So they don't want you to leave. And they got some casino elements in there, right? It was clean. People was checking in. You folks seemed nice. Security had a smile, didn't make it difficult. But yeah, somewhere between a 6 and a 7.
If any of our listeners have checked out the casino and they've got thoughts or opinions, let us know. Text us 773-780-0246. Want to hear how it's going and what's in store when the permanent one opens up here in the next few years.
You heard me talk about it on Friday, but CityCast Chicago has a brand new audio producer. I'm so excited for y'all to meet the homie Michelle Navarro. Welcome to the podcast, my friend.
Thank you for having me.
Well, welcome to the team chat. It's just me and Simone been holding it down for a few weeks. We're excited to get somebody else in here.
For a few weeks.
I disassociated there.
I've heard it's been a while.
It's been a few months that we've been holding these team chats down by ourselves. She said that, so a few weeks, and the minute you said it, I was just like, oh man. It has been a whole summer. But no, we are so excited to have you here. We want the listeners to, maybe get to know a little bit about you. How would you describe yourself to the listener?
Great question. Also a tough one. I mean, what the listeners need to know is that I'm born and raised in Chicago, Southwest Side. So shout out Southside to all my Southside people. You already know how I feel. I love storytelling. I love audio producing. I love writing. And I'm excited to be here and to be part of the team. Y'all been holding it down, and I know y'all been doing a great job, but I'm excited to help now.
Hey, we are glad to have you here. And to help the listener get to know you a little bit more, we got a little bit of a rapid fire. I'm going to start with some basic Chicago questions and then go to the choices. So first, I need to know, you said Southwest Side. What's your neighborhood? What neighborhood are you from? Where your granny stay? Where your mama stay?
Gage Park. Born and raised Gage Park.
All right, Southwest Side. What high school you go to?
I went to Solorio Academy High School. It's kind of newer. Like, I feel like a lot of Chicagoans don't really know much about it. It opened in 2010, so it's one of the newer schools, but we there.
We represent it. All right. As you've heard on the podcast, we like to debate some of the Chicago things, so I got to bring you in on here. Chicago pizza. Everybody want to talk about it. Everybody got an opinion. Where you at? Deep dish or tavern?
Tavern. It has to be tavern. Deep dish is like special occasions.
Harold's or Uncle Remus?
Harold's.
Ketchup on a hot dog, yes or no?
Ooh, I'm going to be real. I do like ketchup on the dog.
Come on. Come on, I just feel like for Southsiders, G.
I love like the Chicago style dog is so good because like I love all the vegetables in there, like the peppers. Like I love a creative hot dog, but like I just feel like it's a little dry without the ketchup.
Like just making mustard do all of that work feels unfair
It
to
does.
mustard. Like
That's what the relish is for. That's what the relish helps. That's what the relish is for.
Simone, we was having a conversation, G. We was talking. We was talking. We was going back and forth, and you talking about the pickle lily. Like, yes, relish is good, but liquidy. You put that with the vegetables.
It's got liquid in it. Whatever. Keep going.
When you talk about our tomato sauce, socks or Cubs, you could say both, but then you just be lame.
I have to go with the socks. I'm a Southsider. It's only right.
Man, my homie grew up. My homie lived in Marquette Park, and he a Cubs fan, and that's like around the corner from you. So you never know. People get infatuated with that blue and red.
I mean, I guess I definitely know people.
Right, I know some of them people. All right, and then two more. One, what's your favorite tourist trap? Something that they say only tourists go to, but secretly you love it too. Mine has always been the bean. Like people be hating on the bean. I love it. I just think it's cool.
Yeah, the bean is definitely cool. I have to say though, my favorite is probably the boat ride down the Chicago River, like the architecture tour.
The architecture tour, yes.
It's beautiful. I recently went on it just because one of my cousins came to visit and, we're like, why not? Let's do it. And I told him, I'm like, I can definitely see myself doing this again.
Jacoby, how many times have you been on the boat tour?
Like 8 or 9. 8 or 9. Because at this point, I'm at the point where I'm comparing the companies. Like I'm doing each one to see like who's funny, does the information change, like where's the personality, that like them Sea Dogs, I don't even know how you do an architecture tour. That thing just going so fast. And so I'm at the point where I'm comparing the different companies.
Right.
One more thing. For you, born and raised in Chicago, what do you think is the most underrated thing about Chicago?
The most underrated thing? I would say a lot of the parks are underrated. I feel like, I don't know about y'all, but a lot of the Chicagoans I know, like they be passing by the parks or they go to the parks when there's like an event and stuff, but people don't really just chill by the parks. And I feel like that's something that we have so many beautiful parks that like are especially by water, which is such a like cool thing that a lot of cities don't have. So I just love being in green space around water. And Chicago got that, which I love. Whether it's by the river at like Pinkton Park or like down by the lake at Jackson Park, I feel like that's always a good vibe. And people don't talk about it enough. And I wish more people were just out there more. It'd be good for us.
If you want to send Michelle some love, you already know where to reach out to us. 773-780-0246. Leave your name, your neighborhood, and your love. I want to send another thank you to our lead producer, Simone Alisea, and our newest audio producer, Michelle Navarro. I appreciate y'all making time for me.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you.
Before I let you go, for more news and events, head over to our website, chicago.citycast.fm. That's also where you can catch up on podcast episodes you missed and subscribe to our Hey Chicago newsletter. Of course, I'm going to leave you with some good news. Our friends over at City Bureau and Chicago Votes are hosting a budget happy hour tomorrow night in the Loop. You'll learn what's exactly in the proposed 2024 city budget and ways to get involved. There will also be music and drinks available. For more information, you can check our show notes. As always, we appreciate you for reading and listening. We're back in your inbox and feeds bright and early tomorrow. We'll talk to you then. Peace. I'm running out of breath.